All right, we're still working on the steering on this bus. It's been here for a while. Getting the parts has come in slowly. We finally got the drag link that was all worn out replaced. And in order to replace the drag link, because it had these funky shaped tie rod ends, we have to change those two first, and then you can change the drag link. So we're going to get this all taken apart here, replacing the tie rod ends, the drag link, all of that stuff. So it's just took a little bit of time to get the parts in. The drag link was back ordered and then finally came in. It took almost a month to get. And then they sent us two of the tie rod assemblies. We had to send one of them back. But we finally getting things apart and going back together here. There's the pretty new tie rod ends and tie rod assembly installed on there. Totally different shape than the old ones.
Smaller one.
It's still got some spreading power. All right, I'll try the pickle fork from this side while you're using the other air hammer on the other side with the hammer tip on it. We'll see if we can get it out that way. Okay, we got it out of there with me using the pickle fork on this side of it, and then he was using the air hammer bit on the other side, and I got it out. It's stuck in there. You gonna bring it out this way?
No.
Are you bringing it out this way?
I don't care.
Okay. It's gonna steer a little better when we get that replaced. Well, this doesn't fit because the tapered hole in there is all wallered out because the one was loose. So the new drag link here, this ball joint pinning is not going to fit in here because there's nothing for it to grab to. It's the hole for the taper there is it's all oblong and misshapen, and top and bottom is all. There's no way to make it tight. You can tell that this has been loose in there. Look at the color of it. For one, it's all rusty and it's worn. But it came out. There was no tension on it when we took it off. The taper was not tight. It was just completely worn out. Like this taper is shiny and metal. That's how, and you fight to get them apart like we did this one. But the other end just came right off. It was loose in there and it had been moving around. So like again, you can see it's all rusty and nasty, and it wallered out that tapered hole that it's supposed to be mounted in. So there was no way for us to mount the new one in there because it doesn't fit tight. But yeah, this definitely had water and rust and everything else happening inside there. Okay, so we're going to replace this upper steering arm. It's available. It's $500 something, but at least it's available, and I have a new taper. And here, a couple days later, it did come in. It came in pretty fast. Now, getting the old one off is probably going to be pretty challenging. It never goes easy. Come on.
Yeah.
You want to do it? Okay, now that we got the front end all back together, now we got to do before we tighten anything down, we got to do the alignment on it here. We have to put the wheels back on in order to do that with this alignment tool here. The lasers and everything will hang down here, and we'll get a tape measure out and measure everything up, and then we'll adjust the tie rod end length, and we're going to set it to a 1/16 of an inch toe in. So right at 109, just touching the line. On this side, it's just above 109, touching the line. It says a 1/16 toe in. Really glad we have this alignment tool. It's not that complicated, and it's pretty easy to use. It's not very sophisticated, but it does a really good job. You just got to keep the tape measures on 0 when you move it, and then just know how to read a tape measure. This is the new fancy brake chamber. It is caged right now. Went to go move the fittings over, and every brake chamber I've ever seen are NPT fittings. Just a regular pipe thread fitting like that. On this end, NPT. But this one is a hydraulic fitting. Here, it's got a little O-ring, and there's like a washer, and then an O-ring, and then that. So, and this one, the O-ring is bad on, and you don't just use a standard O-ring on those, I know. So we're ordering these from Prevost, just easiest than me running around. I went to the local hydraulic shop, but they didn't have them. So I didn't want to waste any more time. It's just cheaper to order them, have them sent in from Prevost. But why the manufacturer went with this kind of style instead of NPT, I have no idea. It's an air brake chamber. Use NPT fittings for air brakes. That's been that way on every brake chamber I've ever messed with, but they had to do something fancy on this thing for this disc brake setup on here that we got all redone. So as soon as we get that hydraulic fitting, we'll have that all changed. So that's the new style leveling valve that Prevost sent us. This was the old one that was on there. And the old one had that's like a square, there's 2 flat sides on that there, and an arm that hooked to it. But this one takes a bar that goes through there. And instead of me trying to fabricate a bar that goes for the leveling on it, because it's got to go through that hole in the side, when this turns, you need to turn the whole thing. I can't just do that end piece. So we got to go with the little round bar that goes through there. A piece of all thread or something would probably work, but for me to spend the time fabbing it up, the parts available from Prevost, we just ordered that too. I think it was like $7 or $9 or something like that. And we'll replace the leveling arm on there. It needed new bushings anyways. They're getting pretty dry rotted on here. So we're gonna get all new rubber bushing and everything too. Yeah, this is what hooked onto there. See, it's got it's kind of rusted out a little bit too. But this won't go on that bolt like that because it's the middle part just spins. It has to, there's a shaft in there that it must go through, not just the bolt on the outside. So get this all done, and the leveling valves will be done on this Prevost too. We got that wheel stud replaced on there. Remember there's that one, this is the right-hand side, and there was one left-hand thread one in with all the others. So we got that replaced, and now they're all right-hand thread studs on this side. The tapers on this steel rim are definitely getting worn out. As you can see how far that lug nut's sitting in there. These steel rims are definitely need to think about getting replaced sometime. This upcoming week, we're going to be getting into the transmission on this thing. So for being such a young bus, you know, newest model bus, one of the newest model buses we've had in here, these H3 Prevost, it sure needed a lot of work. But the transmission is going to be quite a bit of a challenge too. So we'll see what we get into with that. But we're going to get that, and we got to change the oil pan gasket and some other stuff. So quite a bit of work coming up this week on here too.